Hi everybody, this is Editor Tori here. As you may notice, there was a let's just say really, really, really long gap in between episode 1 and 2. Frankly, I can't stand video editing or audio editing, really. It's something I'm not very good at and is very tedious. So, I hate to say, but this episode is largely unedited. The first 20 or so minutes are pretty tight, because that was what I did months ago. But I just have other things to do, and so there are some minor edits, getting out some really egregious pauses and stuff, but it's going to be a little choppier than the first episode. I apologize. More episodes will be coming. We have 3 more recorded, and after these 5 are all up, there's a chance this show might take a very long hiatus, but at the very least you have 3 more episodes to look forward to. Anyway, enjoy the show, and I look forward to seeing you with another slightly edited episode in a few weeks. Hello, and welcome to Not a Muppet Show podcast, a podcast not about the Muppet Show. I'm your host, Tori Schmidt, and today I've got 2 amazing guests. First off, you may know her as one of the most talented artists on Muppet Twitter. You also may know her excellent Labyrinth replicas or her amazing work where she puts classic Muppets into fantasy series like The Little Mermaid and The Princess Bride. Please welcome Kristi O. Hello, Kristi.
Hello.
Woo!
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, I think. We'll figure out if it's a good thing. I hope.
You're undecided if it's a good thing. That's great.
Now, if you're on Muppet Twitter at all, you know my second guest for this episode. He is the writer of some of the weirdest tweets you'll ever see on your timeline, but he is also one of Muppet Wiki's top editors, and possibly either a bagel or an apple, depending on who you ask. Please welcome Gavry. Hello, Gavry.
What? What are you talking about?
What?
I am so not one of Muppet Wiki's top editors. I shamefully don't edit enough.
Oh, come on. You're an admin. Like, that's...
Yeah,
that
it's
says
because they love me. It's because we love each other.
Do. Aw.
Everything else you said was true.
The listeners know that last episode was just 2 hours of Danny talking about how much he loves everybody.
I love Danny too.
Gavry, how are you?
I'm chilling. How about you?
Good. I know you've got a busy weekend planned, so thank you for putting this in your schedule.
Yeah, we got the Muppets Take Mahoning tomorrow and the day after, and it's something to look forward to. Makes me go like this. Ah! That's how it makes me go.
Yeah, it's a very busy time for the Muppet fandom. For those who don't know, we're recording this on May 16th, which is, of course, the day Jim Henson left.
Somber day.
And it's also the day we see the funeral of Sheldon's dad.
Oh, from young Sheldon?
Yes, young Sheldon's finale was today. That's what I was
You
doing
know what else
before.
May 16th is?
The release date of the Beach Boys documentary on Disney Plus.
You know what else?
What else, Gavry?
I don't know.
Oh. Well, you know what May 16th is? It's the recording date for this episode. Today we'll be talking about Muppets Tonight, Season 1, Episode 2, Garth Brooks. And so I guess my first question that I always ask my guest, I'm going to start with you, Kristi.
Mm-hmm.
What is your relation to Muppets Tonight? And before I start, I actually asked that question. I should ask, did Muppets Tonight air in Canada?
Yes, it did, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I watched it as a kid. Unsure about the age group. I feel like I might be the oldest one here.
You are, because Gavry, you're like my age.
I remember watching this on, call it the Family Channel up in Canada, where, yeah, it was essentially the Disney Channel. But I remember watching Muppets Tonight when it first aired.
The Family Channel? Is that like ABC Family?
It was, I'm not really sure, because ABC was like a different channel. I mostly remember it was channel 39.
So, ABC and ABC Family are 2 different things. Here's ABC Family. They now call it Freeform, and ABC Family was like, they aired like Charmed. They were slightly lesser than the CW.
Charmed? What?
No, it was Charmed CW. I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is.
Charmed was a show about three witch sisters who like fought. You know what? This isn't a Charmed podcast. We don't need to be talking
Please,
about Charmed.
Kristi, continue. I apologize.
No, it's okay. You had me curious, so I was Googling it. But apparently, Family Channel was a Canadian English language channel. So I guess
Hell
it was
yeah.
just a specific thing in Canada. But yeah, I remember watching Muppets Tonight. That it was basically the extent of my memory. I knew that I watched the show, could not remember anything else about it. So when Tori asked if I wanted to be a part of this, I thought, you know what, this might be fun to have an excuse to revisit this show and try and unearth some memories if I had any of the series.
Oh, fun is a word to describe Muppets Tonight.
Yes, I won't lie. Yeah, it was an interesting experience. Not quite as fun as I thought it would be, but at the same time, I enjoyed parts of this episode. So
well,
yeah.
we'll get to that. Gavry, I assume your relation to Muppets Tonight is probably similar to mine, which is you caught it on YouTube much later. Is that probably accurate?
No, not at all, actually. My relationship to Muppets Tonight was an interesting way of putting it. It's funny, actually, because I am, in fact, believe it or not, I am like a baby boy. So I didn't see it on TV as a kid. And so I mean, for years and years and years, like I kind of procrastinated on watching it due to the fact that, like 10 years ago, people said it was bad and it was corny. So obviously I had no reason to watch it. 10 years ago, also, I was 10.
Same.
That's besides the point. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, Muppets Tonight, right? So I only actually watched Muppets Tonight for the first time, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
Like during the pandemic when you had nothing better to do.
Yes. And honestly, I'm gonna be so real with you. I've only seen completely the first season. The second season I haven't seen as much, due to the fact, specifically because it's easier to find the first season in nice quality than it is for the second season. And the second season is all sort of mishmash of weird cuts and edits all across the globe. So it's like, eh. But anyway, from what I have seen of Muppets Tonight, I really liked it. I thought it was hip and cool and edgy, and it was nice. It was also severely, chronically 90s, which is admirable or not admirable, depending on how you look at it. But I like it, and I think had the Muppets gotten another show in the 2000s, the same one that Sam the Eagle was supposed to do a rap battle with Eminem, I think they would have reached their peak there.
You know what? We don't have the time to unpack Sam Eagle potentially rapping with Eminem, but we just don't have the time. That would be a whole different podcast to unpack that sentence.
That would be not a tonight Muppets Tonight, the show on the Google Meet podcast. Yeah.
I guess now is a great time. These episodes are being recorded on Google Meet because that's what I pay for.
You pay for Google Meet?
I have to for the Muppies because it's the easiest way to do the Muppies to live stream it straight to YouTube.
Why don't you just record it somewhere else?
Well, because I want the Muppies to be live.
You can live somewhere else.
Gavry, we'll talk about this next year if I do it next year. So it's funny because last week I say last week because I'm planning on doing this weekly releases. But last week we talked about Michelle Pfeiffer, and I didn't talk about Michelle Pfeiffer till later in the episode because I don't know if you guys know this. She doesn't show up until 10 minutes into the episode.
Wait a minute. Is Garth Brooks the second episode in season 1?
That aired, yes, in airing order. I'm going by airing order, not production order. In airing order, Garth Brooks was the second.
That's crazy because, in my opinion, I think it's probably one of the best episodes of Muppets Tonight. I think it's probably the best introductory episode to Muppets Tonight.
I think I actually agree. I like spoiling the rest of the show a little bit. I like this episode significantly more than Michelle Pfeiffer.
Much more entertaining and much more funny, for sure.
It's a lot funnier. It's also a lot less. Michelle Pfeiffer episode is very misogynistic. Like there are so many sexist jokes. Like it's just filled. But this
As
episode,
does the rest of the show, to be fair.
oh, I am not looking. I'm recording Cindy Crawford in a couple days,
Good luck.
and I'm not looking forward to the Cindy. Christy, is this the only episode you revisited, or do you use this as an excuse to try to watch the rest of it?
So far, this is the first one, so I'm going to be taking notes on what your recommendations are.
The only other episode I remember being really good is Prince, but that's not till season 2, so it's a while till I get there.
Rick Moranis is a pretty decent one.
That's coming up. But speaking of our guest star, this week's guest star is, of course, Garth Brooks. Possibly at the time the most famous person they got, at least during this first season.
And he was a good chunk of why I wanted to do this episode, because I hail from Calgary, Alberta, which, among other things, like the Fraggle Rock reboot, we are famous for the Calgary Stampede, which is this big outdoor festival rodeo that basically for about 9 days of the year, the entire town goes full cowboy mode. And so I have grown up being forced to listen to country music. I'm not a country music person, but over the years, I have been worn down a little bit. And so I have a bit of nostalgia for Garth Brooks because he was, of course, one of the big country music stars that I would hear growing up. So yeah, his name, being one of the stars that I had some nostalgia for, I thought, let's go with Garth Brooks. Hopefully this is a good time. And I spoilers for the episode, I really enjoyed Garth Brooks. I think that was a good choice.
I think Garth Brooks, it's again spoilers for what we're going to talk about through this episode. I think this stuff with Garth Brooks in this episode is the best parts of this episode. His energy and his charisma with the Muppets is just it's one of the all-time greats. Like if this was a Muppet Show episode, it'd be considered an all-time great. And for those of you for the listeners out there, Garth Brooks, one of the most famous people on the planet, at least in the 90s. He broke the record for the most albums certified diamond, dozens of American Music Awards and Grammys, and he's in if you count the Kennedy Center honors, he's in 4 separate Hall of Fames. The Country Music Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and the Musicians Hall of Fame. We should induct him in the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame just for kicks.
We shall be free.
We shall be free. Gavry, do you have any Garth Brooks thoughts?
No.
Yeah. My mom really liked Garth Brooks, but I think one of the problem with Garth, so like my generation, like if I went on the street and said, "Hey, name 2 Dolly Parton songs," most people can do that.
Yeah.
And same thing with Willie Nelson, or even like people know certain classic country music because we all have
Willie Nelson music.
You couldn't?
No.
You could name at least one.
Rainbow Connection.
There you go. But I think the reason Garth Brooks might not be as well known for our generation is because simply he does not put his music on streaming.
Oh, he doesn't?
I wouldn't have known because I've never really had the urge to listen to Willie Nelson. And before anybody comes for me, I just want to clarify that I'm a little bit more of a Johnny Cash type of guy.
For the record, Willie Nelson is on streaming. I'm talking Garth Brooks is not on streaming.
Wait, Garth Brooks isn't on streaming?
Nope.
That
so surprising.
surprises me.
Because I don't know if you remember, back when streaming first became a thing, like Taylor Swift didn't put her stuff on streaming. Like it used to be a more of a stance, a more popular stance.
But the thing is that this guy, he has like he's got one of the most top selling freaking music of the planet.
He's on the, I think he's like number 9 or 10 on the best selling artist of all time list. Like
that's what I'm saying. So why isn't it on streaming?
I don't know. His latest CD was an exclusive to Bass Pro Shop.
That's so good.
His latest CD should tell you everything you need to know.
Oh,
you know what? It's
Great.
funny how outdated his stance is on that, because if you look into him, he's actually a pretty fairly progressive guy in his
He's
politics.
based.
Yeah.
He's pretty based.
He's
I'm not gonna lie. Before I confirmed I wanted to do this episode, I did peruse his Wikipedia page because I wanted to make sure that it was not going to be not wanting to associate with him.
Here's a good thing. Under the personal life section, there's two subsections: charitable activities and support for gay rights, which again you would not expect, but good for Garth.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you expect it?
Like just there's a certain stereotype with certain country performers that it's just like, yeehaw, I got my gun and my beer, and
yeah, usually the stereotype is that the crowd that listens to country music is the same crowd that would be against gay rights.
Yeah, but I mean, Garth Brooks is based.
He is. Yeah, I didn't know that, and I'm glad he is. He is.
You know what they say?
What's that? What do they say, Gavry?
Did somebody say something?
Oh, Gavry, you mother. All right, shall we? All right, let's start with this episode, shall we? Right off the bat, funnier than the first one. This episode, I've reiterated this a little bit more. If they just keep getting better and better, this is going to be a great show. But I got a feeling they don't.
You have a feeling? It's almost as if you've seen it before, maybe.
When I should say I watched this. I mentioned this last episode, but I watched this on YouTube as a kid, and so I've seen all these episodes, but not since I was like 13.
We shall be free.
We shall. Okay, so basically, this episode starts with Clifford and Rizzo getting some lobsters, some cheeses, and some cacti, I should say, ready to perform for Garth Brooks. I think singing blank random inanimate objects is always funny. That's a classic Muppet bit. Singing cactus, singing cheese.
It's a must-have for sure.
It's a must-have. I mean, you gotta have singing cacti. And then we get introduced to one of the standout characters of Muppets Tonight, Bill the Bubble Guy.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say Garth Brooks.
But this is the episode that kind of like, it's a very detailed introduction to Bill the Bubble Guy, who we will see later. He stays around for a while. I have,
you know what? There's he gets a lot of flack. Bill the Bubble Guy. He gets a lot of flack. I don't even dislike him. You know who I dislike?
Who?
Mr. What's his name?
Mr. Poodle Pants.
Poodle Pants. Yeah. Him. He, I love the design, but as a character, he has no right to be on this show. And I think Bill the Bubble Guy significantly, presented his value later in the show, in the Sandra Bullock episode, when he was in that sketch While You Were Slapping, which I think it was the entire reason I even watched While You Were Sleeping in the first place. And I gotta say, pretty good movie. I don't even celebrate Christmas, but I liked it. Garth Brooks, we shall be free.
Does Bill the Bubble Guy, does he show up in other shows?
Nope. Oh, well, other episodes of this show?
Just other
Outside of Muppets
Muppet
Tonight?
media.
No, he is locked to Muppets Tonight. He's in a good chunk of Muppets Tonight, but after that, he's out. I mean, he makes a couple cameos in some books, like he's in the character encyclopedia, but he's not anything else. The question that I always thought, I think I wrote this down. Bill the Bubble Guy encapsulates to me a lot of Muppets Tonight. Not all Muppets Tonight, but it's something that the first time it happens, it's funny. And then every time they repeat the joke throughout the series, it's just not as...
Yeah, diminishing
he
returns.
he has the one thing. And a lot of these sketches that we're going to talk about later, they kind of keep repeating their one thing throughout the... Especially Swiftwits, which we'll talk about later. But Swiftwits is the same joke every single time. It is!
It is. That's why I'm laughing, because it really is.
One more before we move on from Bill. Any idea on how the puppet works? How they get the bubbles to?
Well, okay. Have you ever used like one of those like bubble guns?
Yeah. So you're saying you think there's like a bubble gun, like in the like a remote control bubble gun in the top of the head, is what you're thinking?
I have no clue. I'm just talking
Yeah,
about.
that's what I was thinking. But I was that puppet's got to weigh a ton then. If there's like a whole bubble machine and like bubble fluid.
I mean,
No.
puppets with mechanisms probably usually weigh a ton. But
Mm.
the thing is that I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Who's to say?
I
Go
guess
on.
it depends on like what the mechanism is, because it could be maybe it's something super high tech with a motor and a little fan blower to blow the bubbles, or maybe for all we know it's just like a tube that somebody blows
Mhm.
into, goes up
It's
through the
the
puppet's head.
magic of television.
Mhm.
But that's enough about Bill the Bubble Guy. Yeah, that's enough about Bill the Bubble Guy for now.
We shall be free.
We shall. Next, we get introduced to our favorite character on Muppets Tonight, Chris Gaines.
Who?
And he goes,
Oh, took me a second.
okay, Gavry got that
Very
joke.
nice.
Yes.
Okay, I had to make at least one reference.
I was like, wait a minute.
I had to make at least one reference to.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I was
Weird.
waiting for you to. I was waiting.
I had to. For those of you who know, he decided he changed his name to Chris Gaines for one album, put out like a rock album, like 2002 maybe. It was weird. It was really weird.
Dude's having fun. Can't blame him.
Yeah.
No, and he has having so much fun. So Garth, but really, the appearance that is interesting here, and we'll talk about much later in this episode, is that this is our very first appearance, believe it or not, of Pepe the King Prawn in this elevator shaft.
Yes.
Um,
And this was the second reason why I wanted to look at this episode was because of Pepe, because Pepe is my sister's favorite Muppet. And so I thought, oh, well, this will be great. This is, get Garth Brooks, we get Pepe in one episode. Turns out he's only in it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, we're gone. And what's funny is that his partner, Seymour, who also is debuting in this episode, he does get to be in the big final random assortment of Muppets musical number.
Which is?
Gavry.
Oh. We shall be free. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. But we'll talk much more about Pepe later, so hold your thoughts on Pepe for the end of this show. So Garth Brooks comes out, and he's like, fellas, I've been thinking. And he takes off his coat, and he's like, fellas, I've been thinking. I'm going to do something completely different. And he takes off his trench coat, and he reveals a mambo outfit. And he starts mamboing down the hallway with a bunch of random Muppets in big Mexican hats.
You mean sombreros?
Sombreros. That's the word.
Well, the thing with I mean,
is my question is this racist? Is my question. That's my question.
That's a wonderful question. I think you're asking the wrong people.
Yeah.
That's also very true.
I am not the target group for this.
Yeah, same here. So don't think I could weigh in on. It definitely feels questionable, that, and actually I guess a few of Garth's later costumes as well.
Oh, there's one that I'm very comfortable in saying is racist.
Which is
which is the
we shall be free.
I was thinking of the
kimono. The kimono. Yeah, the kimono to me is there's no.
Hey, you want to know a fun fact?
What's that?
That's not even Garth Brooks. That's Kirk Thatcher.
What?
Mm-hmm. Just for that one shot.
Okay.
Is that are you serious, or is this a joke?
I'm very serious. I'm very, very serious.
No, Gavry would never joke about something that serious. Gavry's jokes is saying something like "We shall be free" over and over again.
we
That's Gavry's
shall.
joke.
We shall.
I know Gavry enough to know he wasn't joking.
It's true, and it's it's kind of hard to notice because he's caked up in a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind that? Do you know?
That's a wonderful question, actually. No, I don't.
But you know what I know?
I don't know what I've been told.
I know that next is the amazing Muppets Tonight theme song.
Yes.
Wait,
this-
we
this-
only just got to the theme song?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. How long is this episode?
25 minutes.
We shall go on, please.
We can skip. Oh, we can skip this kind of quickly because I don't need to talk about this. But do either of you have thoughts on this theme song?
I was just gonna say, as I mentioned, I saw this when it was first airing, and I was looking forward to having some memory come back of watching these episodes. Literally, the only thing I remember is the theme song.
It's a good theme song.
It is. It's a good theme song. I was pretty hyped to start off this episode between Garth Brooks and the theme song. I was good to go. Yeah, that momentum did not carry me all the way through the episode, but started off strong. There's that.
Gavry?
If you're a human being, take a break from the race. If you're a human being, take a break from the race. If you're a human being, take a break from the race. If you're a human being, take a break from the race, of course.
Very good. So then we get Clifford introducing Garth Brooks and Rivers? Yes, Rivers Cuomo from Weezer shows up. Sorry. We get Clifford. Damn it! Now I almost said Clifford takes a break from the race.
We shall be free. Thank you.
Oh, this episode's gonna be a pain to listen to. Anyway, Clifford introduces Garth Brooks, but Rizzo pulls him aside and is like, "Hey, you might want to take a further ado." And Rizzo makes a very big point that Garth Brooks is wearing bloomers, and that he basically says men really shouldn't wear bloomers. Rizzo, it's 1996. Come on, men can wear bloomers.
Yeah.
Wait, what's a bloomer? I'm looking.
I have no idea.
Bloomer is like it's a dress.
They're like undergarments.
Oh, it's like the stuff that British people wear. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
So-
like the George Washington pants.
Oh, George Washington pants. Okay. What I like about this episode is that it kind of like the guest star really wants to do something weird and the Muppets don't. Like, I feel like that's the complete inverse of at least one Muppet Show episode where the guest star doesn't want to do the weird stuff. It's kind of the inverse of the John Cleese episode in the Muppet Show.
It's not that the Muppets don't want to do anything silly. It's that they are not allowed to because the station manager.
The very attractive station manager.
We shall be free.
Gavry,
Please continue. Please use me as a cue.
Garth Brooks looks great in bloomers.
Just let Garth Brooks live his life. He's having fun.
This sketch is great. This is there's some jokes that I don't think land perfectly.
Are we talking about the Romeo and Juliet one?
Yes, the Shakespeare sketch.
I thought it's a weak start.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
It is. The thing is that it is funny, but it's a weak start for a great episode.
I personally got really hung up on the idea that Piggy doesn't know Shakespeare, because I just feel like that would be so her jam, especially Romeo and Juliet. Like, you can't convince me that Piggy hasn't imagined herself as Juliet.
Kristi, I really hate to do this, but I do want to quickly correct you. Romero and Juliet.
Oh, my apologies.
I,
You know what?
I do think the sketch itself is funny. I think the piggy joke, the first time it's funny, the Romero, but then the parting is such sweet sponging pissed me off because I'm like, how do you get sponging from sorrow?
Because
Like,
because she didn't have her reading glasses on.
I get it, but
I thought it was very funny.
I think Piggy with reading glasses is funny. I think that image of Miss Piggy pulling out
Yeah.
reading glasses and putting them on.
It was hip. It's like, it's like this lady, she's aging.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I felt very seen by this sketch.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I apologize. It wasn't.
No, please laugh. It's terrible.
Well, there is one part of this sketch that almost ruins it for me.
What's that?
And that's the entrance of possibly my two least favorite characters on this show, Andy and Randy.
Hmm.
We're not going to talk about Andy and Randy. They're not really worth our time.
And I know I'm going to devote a segment of the show to them in a future episode when they're
We're going to have to.
I think you know what episode, Gavry, is going to be Andy and Randy's episode.
Sandra Bullock?
John Goodman.
Oh, I forgot about that episode because I frequently forget about John Goodman. Anyway,
Stop! Don't!
Free.
Oh, Gavry, it's gonna get annoying. The listeners are gonna hate this. I'm gonna start editing these out.
Oh no! It's like a drinking game. Take a shot every time you hear him say it.
Oh, if you want to die within the last 10 minutes,
Bottoms up.
I do think Two Gentlemen of Bologna is a structure of a joke. It would have been funnier if they kept doing bad Shakespeare meat puns. If they did like, well, Hamlet is the obvious one, but also
Hamlet would have been too obvious.
A Midsummer, a Midsummer's Night's Dream. No, that's terrible. Mac and cheese, Macbeth and cheese.
Say that slowly, and I want you to really think about what you just said. Macbeth and cheese. I just want you to understand the gravity of what you're inferring here.
Anyway, I do think when Miss Piggy says whoever wrote this should be shot is really funny. It doesn't sound like a joke a Muppet would make.
I love that they tapped into that edge, though. Like the fact that they could say that. It's they gotta have a little edge.
They gotta, and I think Miss Piggy would probably be relieved to know Shakespeare is dead. I think that's all. I also got a good laugh when they just like when Andy, and I don't really usually laugh at them, but when they said, "Hey, if you remove this beam, this whole thing could fall down."
Yeah, like little obvious.
There's something funny to that.
I did really like. I always like when a Muppet goes lifeless and plummets or is thrown. So I don't know why. It always tickles me to see. So when they cut to Piggy's lifeless puppet form on that balcony just before it crumbles.
Muppet eating is always funny. It always is. It always will be. Any last thoughts on this section before we continue?
I think Tales of the Vet. Tales from the Vet.
Tales from the Vet.
Tales regarding, a vet.
The Vet. This is the there's a quick Statler and Waldorf joke in between this, but whatever. This Tales from the Vet is the first appearance of Dr. Phil Van Neuter.
I don't like him. Next.
Really? I think Phil can be really funny, but Brian Henson's high-pitched voice can get on my nerves sometimes. It can.
I don't care about the character. I think, he was maybe a little bit funny in Muppets in Space or Muppets regarding space. He's a nice character, but I don't think he deserves a consistent segment.
Yeah. I love the puppet though. The
Yeah.
puppet,
Yes.
the puppet's great.
Yes. I'm sure there are people who would agree.
Oh, do you not like the puppet?
No, actually, I hate the Muppets. The Muppets suck, and I wish I never got on this stupid podcast.
I said the puppet. So here's a little interesting thing. Did any of you happen to Google Under the Yum Yum Tree, which is the
No.
play he said?
Isn't it like something sexual or something?
It's Wikipedia described it as a sex comedy.
Oh, okay.
Not like Phil starts to say something the whole family can enjoy. Don't think the whole family can enjoy a sex comedy. But I don't know. I think the wraparound segments of Tales from the Vet or Tales Near the Vet or whatever it's called.
Near the vet.
I think
I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that vet.
I think the wraparound segments are funny enough. I think a lot of it is just Phil yelling, and that gets annoying. But I don't know. It's funnier than the Taylor the Turkey stuff because I just did not find that funny at all.
It felt like a very obvious joke, and I was waiting for there to be a twist on it. Some kind of Muppet edge to it or fresh hot take. But no, it was just what you predicted. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one myself.
It's fun to see Jerry Nelson play a turkey, but like,
we shall be free. You're asking me to do it at this point.
I'm asking you.
This is character development from you. I'm really proud of you, actually.
I am. I should say that the second wraparound, there's two lines that Phil say that got a big chuckle out of me. He says Taylor was a product of the public school system. Again, not a joke. I think the Muppets would make now.
Mm-hmm.
Not a joke they could make now, even though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I also like when Mulch is tugging on him and he yells, just like the nuns used to do. Again, not a joke I think the Muppets would do now. But funny enough. So, speaking of, I was going to say speaking of funny enough, but actually speaking of not funny at all, Swiftwits. We didn't watch the Swiftwits segments from the Michelle Pfeiffer episode because I couldn't find it because it was the UK spot and I couldn't find a copy with it in.
Wait, which one was it?
I couldn't even tell you which Swiftwits it was.
Let's take a look on the good old Muppet Wikipedia here and see Swiftwits. It was, drumroll please. It was the one that is forgettable. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Kristi, I know you've only seen this episode, or recently seen this episode, but this is the same joke. This will be the only joke Swiftwits has.
Oh no!
It's the same joke. Here's the thing. Here's a misunderstanding. Big Mean Carl eats insert cute animal. It's the same. And I think it's funny the first time, but I think they're just all the same. Like I think there's one where like the person actually wins, but Big Mean Carl ends up eating the puppy anyway.
My grandson Nathan.
Oh yeah.
My ex-wife. It's all the same.
It's my cousin Norm or my brother Norm.
Exactly. We shall be free.
Well, I got one more thing. No. We shan't.
And then we'll be free.
I did not notice this till I was on Muppet Wiki earlier, but it is so obvious if you notice it. The Swiftwits puppet, the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Gavry, do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
Look at this Muppets guy, and then tell me if you think there's another Muppet he looks like.
Okay. Fucking I really don't know.
They use the same body, not the head, but the body of the Muppet Newsman.
Oh, okay.
Huh. Huh.
And now that I've said that, you can't unsee it. Like when I read that, I was like, oh, duh.
Is that true? Is that true?
That's what the wiki said.
Same
and I assume,
body with it.
I assume if it was on the wiki, it's probably accurate.
I want to say I believe it. I mean, we got to look at the suit. It's the suit here.
I think the suit looks like a really decent match, if nothing else. I feel like that's got to be true.
Let me find a picture of the newsman here with this. Oh, it is the same suit. What do you? Oh,
yeah. Of the host of Switwits, whose of course name is Snooky Blyer,
which is not the greatest game show name I've ever heard. My vote goes to Wink Yahoo.
What?
Wink Yahoo of it was a game show for kids in Canada called Uh-Oh, and he was the host there. He had this fantastic pompadour hairstyle. Look him up. He had, in general, his fashion was immaculate.
There will be a link to Wink Yahoo's fashion in the show notes. And so then after Swiftwits, we kind of get a nice 1-2-3 punch of sketches there. And then we get Kermit coming in, telling Clifford good news, and Clifford responds with, "The chef episodes are finally on Laserdisc." I didn't get this joke. Did either of you get the joke?
No, I meant to Google that actually.
Wait a minute, chef.
I don't know if it's talking about the Swedish chef, or when I googled chef episodes, the first thing to come up was Chef from South Park. But I don't think South Park wasn't even on the air yet. I think South Park's a year later, so it's definitely not South Park.
No, it's gotta be something from the late 80s or the early 90s or something.
Is this? The only thing I'm finding is Chef is a British sitcom that aired 20 episodes for 3 seasons from 93 to 96 on BBC. It's probably a British joke.
It could be. Now, here's another question for you. What year did the last Laserdisc get produced?
Oh.
Because when I was watching this episode, I was like, wait, were Laserdiscs still a thing in 96? Like, that was an honest question.
That is a good question.
I don't remember Laserdisc being a thing. I feel like it was, they might have still been around, but I feel like VHS was definitely the norm.
VHS was definitely superior, but I feel like Laserdisc was like a niche thing. It was still probably going somewhat strong in the mid 90s.
Give me a year. The year the last one was produced.
Well, it looks like it died down towards like 2001-ish, but the Laserdisc
You're
players
on Wikipedia.
Continue to be produced until 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
Wow.
Which is about 20 years later than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean people were buying them though.
That's also very true.
Might have been using them as frisbees.
Recycling. And speaking of bad recycling, there's a weird, I think it's supposed to be a no homo joke where, at least to me, I took it as a no homo joke where like Clifford's like, "Oh, if you weren't a frog, I'd hug you," and Kermit's like, "Oh, if you weren't a catfish face guy, I would hug you."
Mm-hmm. Yes, this was the 90s, and men were not allowed to have feelings.
No, but you know what men were allowed to do?
Be free. We shall be free.
They
weren't allowed to be free.
No.
No.
They were allowed to put on fake sideburns and a terrible wig and sing Tom Jones.
Yes, which I'll say, the producer in this show, he gets very angry because Garth Brooks isn't doing a country music song. Let the man do Tom Jones. I think he's doing a damn good job as Tom Jones.
This was very funny. I enjoyed this. Garth Brooks is truly the highlight of this episode.
Yes.
Everything he does is funny. He has such a great energy. I just love this whole bit. I love people throwing pants at him. And again, I don't love Andy and Randy, but one of them yells, "He's got my pants!" And then later the other one yells, "He's got your pants!" And it's just stupid enough that I laughed.
I wish we had this in better quality because, as you said, we were like watching this episode on YouTube, and I was trying to figure out, are they lace panties or is somebody throwing their lace bra? Like, I can't quite make it out, and I don't know if I want to know the answer, but
Can I give you a pro tip?
yeah.
Yes.
It's in higher quality on archive.org.
Oh, okay. So can you weigh in then? Can you tell us? Can you settle the debate?
Well, okay, let's look now. Why don't we?
And while you do that, I have another trivia question. Has Tom Jones ever interacted with the Muppets?
Yes, he has.
Yes.
Is this like, I thought you were asking a genuine question.
I was asking a genuine question. Do you know what?
On his show called This Is Tom Jones.
And also there's a picture of him with Kermit the Frog at the Golden Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, that wasn't as exciting. That wasn't anything, rah.
Hey, the Golden Jubilee for Queen Elizabeth II. There's some great pictures of Kermit with Ruby Wax, whoever Ruby Wax is.
Do you believe how ridiculous the name for something called Golden Jubilee? Golden Jubilee? Anyway, what was the question? Lace panties?
There's a picture.
The answer is yes, they are lace panties.
Okay.
God. Let's unpack that in a second. But there's a picture of Kermit the Frog looking at Queen Elizabeth, and he's standing right next to Ozzy Osborne. And Ozzy Osborne, hold on.
Is Ozzy about to bite Kermit's head off?
Almost. Hold on.
The infamous picture.
Yes.
That kind of looks like Kermit's doing a sneak attack on Queen Elizabeth.
Jump scare.
This picture will be in the show notes because it's great. But
I love how the caption says Kermit celebrating British royalty. Like, yeah, sure he is.
Sure. But yeah, I just think this bit's great. I like Bobo asking for his pants back at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
why
does.
You throw them then, Bobo? You should have. This concert rules. You don't get them back.
Thoughts on this manager? I've said this before. I think the station manager might be the hottest Muppet.
No.
He's attractive. Well, what's wrong?
No. Not even a DILF.
Wow.
I will say, I found him like he's an attractive Muppet. I think he's a little generic in this role. I kind of wish that there was someone more unique looking.
I agree.
Well, listen, it could have been JP Grouse. He's in the scene.
He's in the background at most.
And they call him out. He says, "Hey, JP."
I think that this character was just not necessarily appealing.
Are you ready to talk about another character who is definitely not necessarily appealing?
Kermit the Frog.
I'm, of course, talking about the rich lives of the Tubmans of Porksmouth.
Skip.
We have to talk about it. We have to.
Okay, it's a sketch. Next.
Gavry, if you want to go take a break, me and Kristi.
You know what? You know what I think we should do. I think we shall be free.
Gavry, we have to talk about the guy whose entire joke is that he's fat and effeminate.
We shall be free.
Gavry, you're the Bill the Bubble guy of this podcast.
You know what? If he can be free,
You know,
then I deserve to be too. And Tori, you should invite me onto another episode so I can just do this every once in a while.
Just keep
and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like a soundboard.
Can you do
wanna
other Brooke songs?
Next question.
You know, fat phobic wasn't a word in 1996, but that's what this is.
Oh yeah.
The whole joke is that he got stuck in a chair and he's so stuck in there they're gonna have to use dynamite to get him out. And he's like, oh no, what if it burns the pot roast?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing. It's unfunny. It's painfully unfunny. Howard Tubman. I'm going to be talking about him in depth in a couple weeks, and it's just like, I know there's some older folks who hate him with a burning passion, and I completely understand.
Yeah. This sketch definitely doesn't do him any favors. I mean, not that it's like his fault, I guess, but it's just it's just him. You're just supposed to laugh at him because he is overweight, and haha, isn't that funny?
Thankfully, I looked it up. There's only 5 more of these. They're not as prevalent as I thought.
You know what? Young Sheldon wouldn't make a joke like this.
No, it wouldn't. Why isn't this a Young Sheldon retrospective podcast?
Oh, you're asking me? You're asking me?
I mean, I am having Kim on in a couple of days, so.
Yeah, you just wait. You just wait.
I
think I have so much to say about Young Sheldon. Just wait for Kim.
So then, cactus or cacti, shrimp and cheese being pissed off at Rizzo is kind of funny. We already talked about the unfortunate nature of the kimono, and the apparent Kurt Thatcher of it all.
At least it's in the background, and thankfully we don't see Garth Brooks performing in that.
That's also very true. That it's we don't get a full number for that, nor do we get a full number for the Mambo outfit either.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps a little bit, but I have to say, as kind of offensive as the kimono itself is, Clifford's reaction. Clifford falling is always funny. That puppet is very good at facial expressions. And the way Clifford falls back. Or no, he doesn't fall back. I'm sorry. The way Clifford reacts to that is very funny, I think.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun movement in his hair.
So,
like earlier in the episode when Rizzo first comes to him and starts talking about Garth Brooks isn't going to sing a country song, you see, like Clifford turns around and you just see his back and he gives a little reaction. And not even seeing his face, like it's so expressive, just like the way his hair shakes. It's great.
It's a great puppet. It's a great puppet. And Gavry?
Clifford.
Gavry, that's not what I wanted you. No, Gavry.
We shall be free.
And we shall be free right into the dumbest pun ever: Pigs in Space Deep Dish 9.
Ugh. Well, I thought this episode was good, and you just keep hitting me with the bad bits.
Again, I think this episode, like everything with Garth Brooks, is really good for the most part, but everything without Garth Brooks is it's just not funny. Like,
which is crazy for the Muppet.
Yeah. And it's a shame because he is such a delight. I want to see a cut of this episode where it's just Garth Brooks, so I don't have to go through this roller coaster of feeling so good and then feeling so disappointed by these sketches.
I think the joke of a captain's log being an actual log is a little funny. But then I don't. There's a joke about a metaphor in here that's so bad it didn't even get the laugh track.
Which was?
It was we're in metaphor 2. We're in metaphor 3. Oh, don't mix your metaphors.
Yeah, which
We
is so
shall be free.
very,
Anyway,
very forced. Like somebody came up with that "don't mix your metaphors" and then just tried to slot it into whatever sketch they were currently writing.
and it's just not funny. The whole thing's just not funny. And then I do kind of like just all these random creatures in the spaceship and Bill the Bubble Guy not playing along with the bit. But then the end with like, we're gonna watch a slick film. Is that it's not much of a joke. And then Piggy says, "Are we gonna end with that terrible joke?" And then it says, "Oh, I guess we are." Like, calling out your bad joke doesn't make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not funny. And I'm hopefully, I looked it up. There's only 3 more of these. Deep Dish 9 did not stick around for long.
It's bad. Bad.
It's bad.
Bad.
But you know who also doesn't stick around for long?
Who's that?
Our cameo, Leonard Nimoy.
Oh yeah, this was
Oh, yeah.
this is a nice surprise to this episode.
So this is something the Muppet Show never did, but Muppets Tonight does a lot, where on top of their regular celebrity guest star, they will have, depending on the episode, multiple other celebrity cameos. So much so that there's one episode that's just called The Cameo Show. And the whole that's the episode where they accidentally kill Arsenio Hall. Which is okay, we'll get to that in season 2. But yeah, I don't know how much I love the reliance on cameos. I think this one's fine, and it kind of makes the previous sketch a little funnier retroactively, but I mean, that's probably just cool to see Leonard Nimoy. Like, It's just cool to have a picture of Leonard Nimoy with Miss Piggy. But
I definitely enjoyed the cameo more than the sketch. So it's just almost a shame that I want to see more of Nimoy. I wish he was like worked into the plot somehow. It's very much like the Simpsons monorail episode where Nimoy just kind of shows up and for no real reason and then disappears.
And then this is going to be tracking the Star Trek cameos, because I know William Shatner makes a cameo later.
Indeed he does.
And so does George Takei. At a Star Trek convention subplot in one episode. This show gets really weird. Gavry?
We shall be free.
There are certain friends of ours who I know are going to complain about this part of the episode.
What is it?
Oh, no. I mean, you going, "We shall be free."
Oh, are you kidding? It's the best part.
And so then we get Garth with some chickens, which is funny enough. Again, Garth Brooks has such good energy, and he's so funny in the show, which makes the next sketch a little unfortunate.
Why?
Gavry, you can say this more than I can, but is the Fiddler on the Roof thing offensive?
No, are you kidding? When I first saw that, I was crying of laughter. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Such a well-executed joke. Truly.
Okay. Because I just wasn't sure, because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're Jewish, correct?
Yeah.
And you don't find you don't take offense to it?
No, why would I?
Okay. I don't know. I just thought him putting on a fake Yiddish accent and doing the beard was a little much. But if I thought this was, of the 3, the least offensive, so
You know what? I love this joke so much, and I think that's probably why this episode redeems Muppets Tonight so much for me, because I think, it's just so well done. It's like the lead up to the joke, and then they pull it off. I love it. It's my favorite joke. I love it.
I do like Rizzo saying he didn't say what country.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Such a good joke. Such a good joke.
Kristi?
Yeah, I mean, I like this segment. Like you said, I like that this one there was a little bit more story to it into the framing device. It wasn't just, as much as I love Garth Brooks just doing silly things, I'm glad that it wasn't just yet another cutaway to Garth Brooks doing a silly thing. You had that lead-in joke about, it's not the country he was referring to. Yeah, it's fun to see Garth Brooks just having fun, living his best life.
It's also good to see Floyd.
He was in that?
He's the fiddler.
Yeah.
In the background. and the chickens are great. And during the backstage parts of this bit, which we haven't really talked about the backstage plot, basically the manager wants them to have Garth Brooks sing a country song, and if he doesn't, he's gonna take them off the air and replace them with a show starring Bill the Bubble Guy. I don't think I've actually said that. And during this, Bill says gangbusters. Which is okay.
We
Which
shall be free. Yeah.
That whole plot, it would make so much more sense if Garth Brooks wasn't nailing it in every scene. Like if he was doing silly things that the audience was booing and he was terrible at everything he was doing, then yeah, of course you're going to take them off the air. But
it's interesting. I don't think we have any shots of the audience in this episode except for the theme song, of course. And normally, at least I remember, I know certain episodes there's a lot of shots of the audience, so I don't know. That could have been an angle. But so there's that old cliche of overhearing through the door. And so basically Clifford is like, I'm going to go in there and tell Garth Brooks that millions of people are out there waiting for him to do a Garth Brooks songs and he cannot let him down. And then he comes out and says, Clifford, I've been thinking millions of people out there have been waiting for Garth Brooks to do a Garth Brooks song, so I won't let him down. And it's pretty funny. And then Clifford's like goes off to introduce him, and then Gonzo comes in and says, and is like, and then Gonzo comes in and is like pitching this crazy stunt to Garth, and Garth, his eyes pop in his head that reminds me, like there's a scene where his eyes like pop out of his sockets in a way that makes it look like he killed your brother. that he's the tune that killed your brother.
Yeah. That's it exactly. And this is like the benefit to watching this on YouTube, because look how big his eyes get. Because it's lower quality, he just looks crazy.
It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
And so Gonzo attempts to kill Garth Brooks.
So not based.
But I do think that the great Garthzo is pretty based.
Maybe a little bit. And
then so Gonzo goes up into this sky, and we cue Garth Brooks to sing. Gavry?
What does he sing? Suddenly I forgot.
See, if you knew any other Garth Brooks song, that would have been a great moment just to bust out when the thunder rolls.
If I knew any other Garth Brooks song, if I knew any other Garth Brooks song. Yes, Garth Brooks busts out with that country classic, Boy Named Sue.
Kristi, let's switch roles for a second. Garth Brooks comes out and sings, Kristi?
I got friends in low places.
Kristi, that's not what I wanted you to say.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen. Pour myself a couple ambition.
Okay, Gavry, he comes out and he sings.
We shall be free.
We shall be free. GLAAD award-winning song. Yes, this won a GLAAD award.
That makes me glad.
It does. And it's closer, the closest we'll get, at least in this episode, to like a classic random assortment of Muppets. number like they used to do on the old Muppet Show, where it's just like a bunch of random characters, including a single cactus and Seymour, and just whatever puppet people wanted to throw on their arms, basically.
That's the beauty of Muppets Tonight. They kind of just picked up anything.
Well, it's the beauty of we shall be free.
It sure is. It
It's
sure
contagious,
is.
isn't it?
It's a good song. It's a really good song. It's a very positive message, and I'm glad he sang this and not "Friends with Low Places" or "In Low Places."
Oh, come on. This is a good one.
It's a good one, but it would have been weird if the big final number was "Friends in Low Places."
I guess.
And so the show wraps up with Gonzo brutally murdering Garth Brooks. Oh, we actually, I'm so sorry. We brushed past a really important thing in Muppet history. Gavry, do you know what I'm talking about? Or Kristi, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Talking about Rolf?
It is! This
was
Rolf. Funny enough, we're recording this on the anniversary of Jim's passing, like you said earlier. This was Rolf's first spoken words, and it's just a quick, yeah. Like, it's very brief, but this is Rolf's first spoken word since Jim Henson died.
Yeah, I had no idea this was in this episode.
Poetic.
No.
He says, "Oh yeah," which is that wonderful, wonderful quote that Jim Henson always used to say.
Okay. And it already sounds really good. Like Bill Beretta's Ralph already sounds pretty good.
Oh, you should wait. You should wait until you hear Bill Beretta doing Ralph saying the words "chicken leg" in Muppets Party Cruise.
Okay. Gavry, I've heard that one door's red and the other's blue when you play the Muppets Party Cruise.
I haven't heard that.
And then, like I said, Gonzo brutally kills Garth Brooks. And
That's Muppet history.
Over Flat Gonzo.
Oh, I try to gloss over Flat Gonzo. I think you mean my sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I wonder where that puppet ended up.
And they had to build a puppet. Like, they had to build a Flat Gonzo for like 2 seconds of screen shine in this.
And
episode.
it wasn't the only Flat Gonzo they did.
Oh, then they probably reused the puppet.
How flat is it?
It's very flat. Like, his mouth is touching his back.
Let me look this up here.
And it's on screen for literally 2 seconds.
Wait a minute.
Now we're all consulting the Muppet Wiki.
Is there a page for Flat Gonzo?
Yeah,
No,
flattened
because
characters.
Flat Gonzo is still Gonzo.
Oh, flattened characters.
Yeah, the flattened characters page. And he's on there.
No,
you can see him.
But those are 2 different Flat Gonzos.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There are multiple Flat Gonzos.
I think
I won't see that. I won't see that.
What terrifies me
Flat
the most
Gonzo.
about Flat Gonzo is that he could definitely be hiding under your bed. He could just slide under there.
Oh no! Shoot, he's right here. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Pick him up and put him in a cup.
He's not that
Actually,
flat.
Now that I look at it, that would make for those like those custom rugs that people make.
Oh.
You could do a custom Gonzo rug.
So
Yeah,
you say that?
You step on him and he'd be like, "Ow! I mean, nothing."
But I would actually pay good money for a flattened Beautiful Day Monster rug.
That's there's money in that.
There's up. Why are we sending Discord stuff in the chat, guys?
Oh, it's an image. It's an image.
Oh, okay. It's the flattened Gonzo images.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flat.
Oh, it's and then so one more thing before we talk about our next segment briefly. This is the second episode of a row. There's no Animal in this episode. There was last week, but we've seen Animal in the show at this point. No Fozzie. Second episode in a row. No Fozzie.
I feel like Fozzie kind of felt out of place in this show.
I agree, but it's still weird. Like, you think you have Kermit, you have Piggy, you have Fozzie. Like, I just feel like a Muppet fan in '96 would expect Fozzie.
Yeah, I guess.
I
Well,
mean,
they did have Piggy.
They did
in
have Piggy.
general, sorry.
No, you're good.
In general, watching Muppets Tonight, I didn't realize how little the core group of Muppets were in this one. So it was interesting to see. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely missed seeing the main gang. It was nice when they had their little cameo moments, but just made me want to see more. Like, oh, come on, bring Kermit back. I feel like that's
Yeah.
probably very like, I don't know.
I like I said, I had Danny Horn on last week, and he was talking how there was a big like, in even Muppet scene back in the day, like a big push of like, where is Kermit? Like that was a real thing with fans, like asking for more Kermit.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I feel bad because I'm glad that they were experimenting and they were obviously trying to get new characters, in
so
the
many.
show.
I mean, there's so many that like I am doing a segment where every episode I talk about one of the new characters, and I'm not going to run out like by the end of the show. Like it's going to get obscure. We're going to have to talk about like Brainiac and David Hasselhoff, but like there are so many new. I mean, in this episode, like we still haven't been introduced to Johnny Fiamma and Sal.
It's
Spamla-
episode 2, for goodness sake.
but it's like there's still so many new characters. Bobo has barely appeared yet. Pepe and Seymour really haven't appeared much yet either. Like, there's just so many new characters. I mean, you guys. I mean, last week we talked about Spamela Hamderson for like an hour, and she's not even in this episode. Like, there are so many. Mr. Poodle Pants, like you were saying, and we're still a season away from Gary Kawanga.
Good old Gary Kawanga. I never fully watched that episode.
You want me to make you? You want to be on that next season?
Call me when you're doing From the Balcony.
It'll be. Is that available anywhere? Is that on the archives or?
Sure is.
Okay, maybe I'll have to do From the Balcony at some point. Kristi, do you know what From the Balcony is?
It's not ringing a bell at the moment.
From the Balcony was a web series on, was it movies.com?
Indeed.
Where Statler and Waldorf reviewed current movies in theaters, and it's like for like 2000, like the mid 2000s.
Oh,
It was very edgy, and dare I say, more edgy than Muppets Tonight.
really?
Yes, very, very, very. I wouldn't say they're family jokes.
Huh.
I've never seen anything from the Balcony.
I've
Yeah.
only
I'm gonna have to
seen
look
like
this up.
half of it, but we shall be free.
And we shall be going into our next segment, which is, of course, Wait, Who? The segment where we talk about one of Muppets Tonight's dozen new characters. And this week, even though he's barely in this episode, and really we should be talking about Bill the Bubble Guy, because this is his big premiere, and he is the most well-known and arguably most important character added to the cast in this show, Pepe the King Prawn.
Oh, Pepe.
I think Muppets Tonight Pepe is very different from every other Pepe, at least in the beginning. He's teamed up here with Seymour, who we'll talk about later. And not us, I mean the general show. I think it was Becca Patu. I don't know if it was Becca or somebody. There is a problem with Pepe article or something like that on Tough Pigs. And I think there's been a bit of a re-examination of Pepe in the last couple of years. I don't know if I'm the only one who's been seeing that. Of like whether or not Pepe is really that funny.
You know what? I think he flourished in the 2000s, and maybe it's dwindled down.
I agree. I mean, his game show on Muppets Now is one of the few parts of that show I actually liked.
I haven't seen Muppets Now.
And you're not missing much. You'll come on my show when we do that.
Huh. Why would you?
I don't plan on it. I'll tell you off mic what my plan is after Muppets Tonight if I want to, but we can talk about that later. I don't want to say it on recording. But Pepe, what are your thoughts on Pepe? Do you guys like Pepe? Do you dislike Pepe? We'll start with Kristi.
I mean, I find Pepe charming. Now, I'll put a caveat on that I don't remember how he was in Muppets Tonight. I was expecting him to be in this episode a bit more, and so I'm curious now when you say that how he was in Muppets Tonight is different to how he's performed.
Pepe in Muppets Tonight was like a loser. He was like a cheesy vaudeville guy with this elephant named Seymour, and he still had the accent. He still like sounded like Pepe, but he wasn't as much of a lead. Like he wasn't Rizzo's sidekick. Like he wasn't like that kind of Pepe Rizzo. Like I think of Pepe Rizzo Gonzo. Like he's not how he would be in other Muppet projects after this. He was kind of a little more shy. He and Seymour in the first season, they're elevator operators.
Yeah.
And in the second season, they work the canteen. And I don't know, he's different. He doesn't feel like fully Pepe. If he gets there, but it's going to be interesting tracking the evolution of Pepe throughout this season and series.
Do we need to get Danny Horn to make a full podcast on Pepe?
Oh, I don't
know if Pepe has as much sex appeal.
I mean, he probably thinks he does. But I also don't think I would force Danny to do that. Gavry, do you have any Pepe thoughts?
Do I have any Pepe thoughts? Well, the thing is, it's not that Pepe is not funny, but I think he has much less potential than he used to, perhaps.
I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Pepe is fine. I think it's interesting how he really was the one Muppets Tonight character to really Bobo to an extent. Bobo's definitely still around. But,
is that because Pepe's got such a fun design? It's such
but so does Dr. Phil Van Neuter, and so does a lot of these puppets are designed really well, but
I think for me anyways, Pepe stands out because he's this tiny little guy. You know that
hey, he's not a tiny shrimp, he's a king prawn.
Yes, my apologies, Pepe. I think I just like him because he's different from the other Muppets. Like similar to Rizzo, where that it's not a hand moving, moving his mouth. I think it's isn't it like a string that's like
it's something like that.
Yeah. And I think it just gives him a very unique appearance, and I don't know, I just think he's so fun to look at. So I can understand why he was the one that stood out to people. Like Phil Van Neuter, yeah, I do like his design, but I feel like we've also seen other Muppets similar to him.
That's true. And yeah, but Pepe stuck around. I mean, he has his own plushie, he has his own stuff. He still gets merch pretty regularly today, or appears on regular Muppet merch. He is a Bobo again to a certain extent, but he is the real standout from the Muppets Tonight era as still around. But yeah, so before we wrap it up, any final thoughts on this episode? Let's start with Gavry.
We shall be free.
Thank you. Kristi?
Well, so as I said, I didn't remember anything really from Muppets Tonight. So this, I can't say I fully enjoyed this episode. Again, Garth Brooks was the absolute highlight, getting to see how how much he enjoyed hanging out with the Muppets and being silly and making fun of himself. He was so enjoyable to watch. The sketches in between, for me, kept falling flat. And I feel in general, Muppets Tonight, at least this episode, gave me the vibe of somebody channel surfing, where you're just going from program to program and you're seeing snippets. You're not necessarily seeing the best bits of this, and so for these sketches, I kept wishing that they would go on maybe a little longer so that we could get some better jokes, maybe.
I think I like that, the thing of switching the channels, because like really these all feel like separate shows, like Deep Space Nine and really Tales from the, like it feels like, and that's like, and they're going from vaudeville sketches to parodies of actual TV shows, and like you can even just see that in the naming, like Deep Space Nine, Deep Dish Nine, Tales from the Vet, Tales from the Crypt. Like it's a lot of direct comparisons. And it does. I like that metaphor of like flipping through the channels and just getting little bits of shows, because that really is how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Gavry. Do you actually have any last things to say?
There's better episodes.
Yeah. So far, now listen, I've only seen 2, but so far this was much better than Michelle Pfeiffer. Just because, well, there were some offensive things that we did bring up. There wasn't like a heaping of women jokes the whole time. And Garth Brooks, I like Michelle Pfeiffer a lot, but Garth Brooks works so well with the Muppets. And also, to Michelle Pfeiffer's credit, she didn't get nearly as much to do with the Muppets as Garth Brooks does in this episode.
It's a shame that he's not as big of a star as he was in the 90s, because I would love to see him work with the Muppets again. I just don't know if they would ever call on him to do so.
Sesame Street would, because Sesame Street will get anybody.
I just don't, I don't think it would be as funny now.
No, because he's an old, like he's the young guy here, and he's got that. I don't know if he would have the same energy almost 30 years later.
I think he would. I think it's the Muppets that would be worse.
No, I mean you're probably not wrong.
Well, there's probably something to the joke of him being at the height of his popularity and coming on the show and having this act of, I'm going to do something completely different. Like, that doesn't quite hit as well 20 years later.
I mean, looking at the list of guest stars they get, like, yeah, Prince is the biggest name, but in 1996, the biggest name was Garth Brooks. Like, he is, and they get some big names on this show, don't get me wrong, but, like, Garth Brooks, they get him at the height of his career, more or less. Mm-hmm. This was a huge get. This is like getting Elton John during the second season of The Muppet Show, or getting Mark Hamill right before Empire Strikes Back comes out. Like, this is the closest Muppets Tonight gets to that. So before we go, I want to thank both of you for being in this episode. I'm going to give you some chance to plug some stuff. Let's start with Gavry.
Go visit the Muppet Wiki. They're so yummy, delicious, and turn on ad blocker if you don't have an account. And yeah.
Kristi?
I guess if you want to check out some of my Labyrinth replicas or my Muppet art, come follow me at KO Makes Things. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, because I'm an old person and we use Facebook. Oh, and Tumblr, because I'm also hip at heart, hip with the kids.
And if you want to follow me, I'm at Spell Things on my personal account on Twitter, because I don't spell things. Of course, you probably already know I'm at Muppet No if you're listening to this podcast. You can also probably find me in the deli section of the local grocery store. Join me next week when I'm joined by fan artist extraordinaire Will Carroll and my best buddy and the co-host of the Twitter Awards, Kim, as we talk about the Billy Crystal episode of Muppets Night. And until then, Gavry?
We shall Free year.
Very nice.